Hello, everyone. I am Estela Mata.
I am Juana Mata. We are the Mata sisters, co-founders of Looms for Lupus, knitting a community of hope.
Yes, so welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We are Looms for Lupus, and we are coming to you live. Today's symposium is entitled Strength in Unity. We're so thrilled to have you here together and coming back again to explore this amazing topic that I think we all have heard of, but we don't really get into enough. And the reason I say that is because you can never get enough support when it comes to emotional support within our community. So today we're going to have a meaningful and uplifting conversation. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Today is March 21st, 2025, and we are streaming live via Looms for Lupus channels on Facebook and on YouTube. And if this is the first time you are tuning in, welcome. I'll tell you a little bit about Looms for Lupus. Looms for Lupus is a nonprofit organization that provides awareness, support, advocacy, and provides educational symposiums like today's to support those living with autoimmune diseases, chronic conditions, some autoimmune diseases like lupus, and overlapping conditions like fibromyalgia and mental health. We support not only those individuals that live with these conditions, but also their caregivers and loved ones and the community as a whole. And today we're going to be talking about such an important topic, like I said, the vital role of emotional support and what it means to our communities. We know that firsthand. Both Juana and I live with chronic autoimmune conditions. We support one another and we provide support to our loved ones and to the community. Those that live with chronic and autoimmune diseases and their caregivers as well. We host support groups, but we also are in the community. We provide a lot of information and resources. And today we're going to have a special guest that is going to share her story. Similar to us, there's a lot of similarities. One, because it is a family affair, as I call this. When someone in our families gets diagnosed with a chronic or life-threatening condition, it doesn't just impact that individual, it impacts the family as well. So for us, it was a family affair because we all needed to not only learn about these conditions, but also support one another and support our loved one. And it is similar with the guests that we're going to have today. And so it is very, very interesting to see how there's so much overlap. When you think of like an autoimmune condition, it's a life-threatening condition, right? When you hear about the treatments are very debilitating and impact your immune system. And we have so many similarities to people that are diagnosed with cancer, life-threatening conditions. You need to have different types of therapies. And not only that, the word life-threatening to me is what is the game changer. So like I said, not only do these conditions impact us physically, but it also impacts us emotionally and it impacts our family members. So before we introduce our special guest, because I know I'm just talking away here, I'm going to read a brief disclaimer. The information that is going to be provided here today by Looms for Lupus and or our panelist on this live symposium is provided for general informational purposes. So even though our panelists at times may be medical professionals, what is presented today is not a substitute for any professional medical advice. We ask that you always seek your advice from your physician with any questions that you may have in regards to your medical condition and or treatment. And if you are having a mental health crisis, we also ask that you reach out to your local resources, 988, for example. So, Juana, would you like to do the honor?
Of course. And now it is my honor to introduce our guest, Annika Vapula. Annika is a remarkable high school senior from Sammamish, Washington, and the founder of Cancer, an organization dedicated to support, education, and research. Recognized she recognized the pressing need for emotional support for cancer patients and took action to create a meaningful change. Through her incredible work with cancer, Annika is uniting communities and leading the change in the fight against cancer. Miss Annika Vapula.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you come talk to us not only about obviously a devastating diagnosis within your family, but also something that you turned into not only a positive for yourself, but your life purpose, or one of your many purposes, I'm sure, because you're so young, and I'm so impressed with what you are doing. So can you tell us a little bit about you? A little bit more about you and a little bit about your organization, Cancer, because it's not like cancer, CANCER. It's a different kind of cancer, the way you spell your organization.
Yeah, so my organization is called Cancer, SER, where the SER stands for Support Education Research. And kind of the main goal with my nonprofit and with my national outreach campaign, which I'm currently working on, is to make emotional support for cancer patients familiar and trustable to all patients all around the country. When I first started my organization, I actually started after my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer back in 2019. And something that we found, or the most important thing that was for her recovery, was really the support of survivors around her and that community that she built for herself. But I know that definitely not every patient has that access to the same level of support that my mom was lucky enough to have. So I started Cancer to make this types of support accessible to all. Now, I'm only a high school senior, so this was a really daunting challenge for me, but I felt that it was so important because I feel like the importance of emotional support is so underrated when talking about the treatment of cancer or just any chronic disease like lupus. And so, with my national outreach campaign, I am trying to talk to as many advocates as possible, legislators, influencers, celebrities, survivors, just anybody who really listened to my idea to eventually create something like a 911 for cancer patients, which is uniting all of these existing support organizations together to provide accessible and familiar and trustworthy support and make that accessible for patients all around the nation.
Wow, it's I love how you switched it up from like cancer, the way that we're no or we the way we see cancer written all the time, right? But the
Mhm.
fact that you utilized those or the acronym or similar acronym, right? The what is it? Support,
Education,
education, and what was the
and
last one? And
research.
research. The three things that we need to be able to go through our diagnosis, go through our lives after we get diagnosed, right? We need research because we need better treatments. We need support. And we definitely need the community. And so when I say the community, and I think one of the things that you mentioned is not everyone has a family or loved ones that will be able to support us when we're diagnosed with these life-threatening conditions, whether it's cancer or a chronic condition. Um, so, what do you do when that happens? Well, you try and seek support with other community members, with other survivors, with other people that may be dealing with something similar that you are dealing with, because what happens a lot of these times is people don't understand what you're truly going through unless they've either lived it or they have helped someone or seen someone that they love go through something like this. So that emotional support, that connection is something I think we all need as we juggle through these life-threatening conditions. You talked to us a little bit, you mentioned about the campaign. So the cancer outreach campaign that you are implementing, or that you're hoping to reach at a national level, how can other organizations help you with that initiative? I know for me, that was an amazing thing for you to invite us to kind of learn a little bit about it and to be able to support you because, again, whether you live with a chronic autoimmune condition or you live with cancer, it is important to have that support. So what is this cancer outreach campaign? How are you making this national? And how can people or other organizations help you?
Well, definitely. First, on the name, kudos to my dad. Actually, he was the one who came up with this acronym. And I think that's just really a symbol of how this nonprofit has not just been me, but it's been like a family effort. Almost, my parents have been so supportive in me pursuing building this, and just the entire cancer advocacy as a community as a whole. On your question about how support organizations can support me, it's really just about endorsing my campaign. Right now, I'm very much in the middle of getting as much support as possible for my idea. We just reached 30 endorsements a couple of days ago, which is a really exciting milestone. Yeah, I know, it's so exciting. And
Yes.
it's really just about showing that this type of system is needed from all aspects of the cancer support community, whether it's coming from patients, survivors, or other organizations themselves. My goal is really to show that this is something that the community wants. So if you are a support organization out there listening, your support would be so, so monumental to my campaign. And then eventually I plan to take all of these endorsements to other existing support organizations and show them this is something that the community wants to build. Join me and we can build this national model. Because again, it's all about uniting existing organizations. And approaching something on a national level is again so daunting. And I mean, you can't just snap your fingers and then you have a national organization. It takes time, and it's a team effort. So right now I'm kind of focused on like Washington, California, like the West Coast kind of, and building the system first for more local areas. So I've gotten a lot of support from Washington state legislators. I'm working with a lot of support organizations in California. So kind of focusing on these two areas first to build this, and then we can scale it to a national model.
Wow. When you're talking about it, I'm just like in awe because I'm like, you're a senior in high school. Like a lot of other seniors are concerned and worried about like what they're going to wear tomorrow, their finals, tests, I don't know, AP exams, all of that, prom. And you're making this difference in other people's lives, which I think is pretty amazing. And yes, bravo and kudos to your dad, because I think that was an amazing acronym that he came up with, and the fact that he also is supporting you with this endeavor. So I know you talked to us a little bit about how organizations can collaborate. And again, congratulations on 30. But how can individuals like patients also get involved or help you? And as are coming up with that, I'm going to bring up a few of the people that are actually tuning in that are saying hello. And that way, as you talk about community engagement and how others can help you, besides just what is it, organizations, how an individual can also share or be of assistance or collaborate.
Yeah, I think the power of hearing survivor stories and survivor kind of experiences is kind of the main, like, the driving factor behind my movement. This whole movement is about creating a better experience. Hi, Daniel. It's about creating a better experience for the patient, for the survivor, and then creating a community within which they can engage with even after their treatment is over. So if you are a survivor or even a patient right now listening, um, I would love for you to share your story with me, and I can amplify your voice with my campaign. And again, we can build your experience into what I'm hoping to create. Because again, it's all about supporting the patients and providing them with the support that they need.
Correct. And as you saw, you saw Daniel, he's here, and because of him, we were able to connect with you. And it's, shout out to Daniel and all the work that he's doing, also, supporting caregivers and loved ones and pretty much everyone. And this is what community is about. It's about connecting us at different levels, whether it's through the cancer, through caregivers, through support. Everything's about collaboration. And then I also wanted to highlight, Jessica. So she's like, happy Friday this afternoon. It's amazing to see a lot of people connecting through these different platforms. And whether you have an autoimmune condition, whether you have cancer or a loved one has cancer or a chronic condition, we're all connected in very different ways. And, I love this, and this is what the community is about. It's being our cheerleaders, collaborating. So, hi, Terry. Thank you for tuning in. And it's true, we have to, one, we're amazed with what you're doing, but we have to celebrate you and celebrate what you are doing and the change and the difference that you are going to make. So it's just amazing to see, so much support, which is great because we know each other, so we know how to support each other. We've seen that gap that we needed to fill, which is why we do what we're doing. And you created Cancer to fill that gap of support, but you also are bringing us all together. So let's talk a little bit about community engagement and why it's so important, to kind of connect not only within the cancer community, because, obviously you were impacted or your mom was impacted by cancer. And there are so many big cancer organizations, as there are lupus organizations. We're small organizations, but we are paving that path and connecting and helping people at a national level and international level. So for you, tell us what this means to you, and how, as a small organization, having all these big organizations with their major funding, there's still gaps that you're finding. How is it that you are finding these gaps, and what are you doing to kind of fill it?
Yeah, I think like exactly like you said, I think collaboration is so important in addressing the gaps in current systems. And there are so many support organizations who are doing such amazing work. There are so many cancer support organizations like Immerman's Angels, American Cancer Society, and they're all working so hard and they are achieving some success. But I think what the main aspect that they might be missing is that they don't have necessarily a local or grassroots presence. And I think, especially with a condition which is so, so personal and something that really is like, it's honestly so scary and daunting for the patient, it leaves that gap of they don't feel comfortable almost reaching out to such a big organization. They don't want to be connected with some other survivor in like Arkansas if they live in Washington, they want another Washingtonian. And so I think that the main gap, which I'm hoping to address, is to um, have a local and cultural significance and presence and provide that to patients so that way they feel comfortable. Instead of reaching out to someone across the country, they're reaching out to like their neighbor who shops at the same stores, their kids go to the same school, maybe something like that, so they can connect not only on the basis of their disease, but then as people, so they can be friends. And so I think collaboration is going to be so, so important in achieving that, because there are so many small organizations out there which are hitting that local touch point and having cultural significance. It's a community in a location, and then uniting all of these different smaller organizations together so that way we can still be consistent. We can still reduce the other like inefficiencies, because there are a lot of similar organizations working on the same problem and kind of providing the same solution, just like in their own little bubbles, serving their own communities. So, sharing ideas, sharing resources, hearing each other's stories, all of that will overall make the product or like the support that we present to patients better, but then we'll still maintain that like local significance. So I think
Yeah.
that's like the best part about collaboration. And that's also the best part about meeting other advocates like you guys. I mean, hearing about your story, hearing about how you grew your own organization was so inspiring to me. And I think just connecting with each other is so important.
Yes. And Jessica makes such a good point here. She says, our lives run so parallel. And it is true, because we go through so many similarities, but yet we're all doing everything, in a very siloed way, right? So it's so important to not only acknowledge that we are living through a lot of the same similarities, difficulties, challenges, but to also figure out how we can connect. And you said it, grassroots level. We have to be in our communities. So what Jessica's saying here is love community-based organizations. Yeah, because that's what it's about. We are more relatable. We could relate to you because we are here. And what I've seen, and it's not a diss, but it's more like of a highlight that I've noticed. A lot of times when we meet with like big organizations, so you have all these executive members and you have all the biggest boards and everything, and they have amazing ideas. The problem is they're always looking for that connection, the connection that we have at a grassroots level, the local community connection. The I understand what you're going through because I'm the one that's talking to you. I understand you because I'm going through this, right? And it is so different to be in a boardroom and to be kind of, shuffling ideas or making recommendations based on assumptions versus the true reality of this is what we're going through, right? And so it's very important to stay connected, but also continue the focus of collaborating and helping and filling those gaps that are so needed. And I just want to, bring up, so Ricardo says, thank you both for the incredible work you're doing to support and uplifting the community. Thank you, Ricardo, and you're doing the same too. So Ricardo Vasquez is actually, I believe he's a board member of the school district. And, it all comes together. So as a community, you see, legislators, you see your community members, your neighbors, the schools working together, everyone, individuals within the community. So it's so important to bring everyone to the table. Hi, Farron. Thank you for joining us. Farron, you are in the sickle cell community, if I recall correctly. Met many moons ago. And that's what we have to do, like in the sickle cell community. I don't know if you're familiar, Annika, but there was a lot of lack of awareness and with the needs in the community. And I believe there's a treatment now for sickle cell. And I believe that the first person was just either in remission or cured. So, I want to bring that up because it is so important. And how was that done? It was done because of awareness. It was done because of collaboration. It was done because of people like you, Annika, that are like, you know what? I see this gap. Let me see what I can do to fix it. And the fact that your dad and your mom, are also supporting you because they've seen what it does to families, right? And Daniel is just highlighting the amazing work you're doing. Hi, Robin. Oh, she says, thank you, ladies, for sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you, Robin, for tuning in. I don't remember where you're tuning in from, Robin. Is it Chicago? Is it Portland? I can't remember, but shout out to everyone from wherever you're tuning in. And yes, it is about community. And you see it here with so many people showing up. We want to show up for them too. We wanted support. We needed support. When Juana was diagnosed, it was very, very scary, right? To get a diagnosis. And I'm sure it was like this for your mom, Annika, and for you. I mean, how old were you when she was diagnosed with cancer?
I was 12.
You
and
were
now
12.
I'm 18. Now I'm 18.
You're 18. So for 6 years, at the age of 12, you're barely trying to figure out, how to live, going from how to survive. I should say survive junior high school, because those are like, it's like a big change. But then to face the fact that your mom is now diagnosed with a potential terminal condition, you know, how scary was that for you? And and then the fact that now you're like 6 years later, you're like, you know what, I want to be that hope and that support for that 12-year-old that has either been diagnosed themselves or their parents or someone that they love has been diagnosed. So it's pretty amazing to see that full circle. So what we can do is go to your site, right, and kind of learn a little bit more about what you are doing. Um, and let me go ahead and type the link here. Do you want to tell me the link, or can you type it in the comments and I can copy and paste it?
Yeah, I can copy paste it. So this
So
is
if
my.
you,
Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm sharing my. Oh, I can't chat it. Oh, I can. This is my campaign site, so you guys can see all of my campaign updates, who I'm meeting with. I'll be posting this live up on there once we get off, and just like keep up to date on how the campaign is going. And then if you would like to endorse my campaign, which your endorsement would be very greatly appreciated, there's a really short form, so you can support me and help get the word out about what I'm trying to do.
So can individuals endorse it as well?
Yes, anybody. I'm literally anybody who wants to support me. I will take your support.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. So I just posted it on the link on here. So it is going to be visible to everyone. And I was right. So Robin's from Chicago. So and she said she's shared with her group. So thank you, Robin, for sharing. And I went ahead and I shared the link, so you can all go and support. And what does that campaign do, Annika? Remind us again. So as you're signing off on just the fact that they're supporting this endeavor, but what does that campaign say?
So by endorsing my mission, you are
Oh,
saying
you're cutting off.
something like a 911 for cancer patients to provide them with familiar and trustable emotional support no matter where they are in the country. My campaign is eventually hoping to unite existing support organizations together so that way we can make their efforts more known, people more aware of their efforts, and make that grassroots level support available to all patients that need it. And eventually, with all of these endorsements, I hope to take them to existing organizations, show them that this is what the community wants, and then work with them to build the system.
Okay. I know that 988, the campaign 988 for mental health, came about a few years ago. We actually saw, and we were part of it. We were part of the mental health consortium with the coalition, actually, that our congresswoman, who has now retired, Congressman Grace Napolitano, she was the head of the mental health caucus in DC. And so we were part of her coalition, and we literally would meet every month, and we would collaborate, because that's what it's about. It's about collaboration and support. And one of the things that we saw from that was, one, we were able to connect with other organizations, and this was for the mental health space. And then later on, because there was so much awareness and so much movement, was what ended up kind of creating that 988. So because of her, and shout out to her and all her staff that, she's retired, but they're all did so much to make that happen. So I can see how this is just the beginning of something big, kind of like that, where someone in need of assistance, in that case, mental health assistance, could just dial 988 and be connected with someone. And in your case, what you want to do is literally something similar, where someone can just, do you have like a number in mind, or is it just like, is there something in existence right now, Annika?
There are some more like state-based numbers that you can call, but a lot of them it's either they exist and nobody knows about it, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a number, or they don't encompass all of the organizations like in their area. So this is kind of just a movement to make it so accessible, so known, so that the minute after your diagnosis, cancer is the first thing you think to reach out to.
Yes, and I think, one of the things that has been lacking, or that we have seen lack, is when you get diagnosed, and I'll just share a personal experience. Like when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, so it's an autoimmune disease. I literally was just told, okay, so it looks like you have rheumatoid arthritis, and you know, blah, 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 and then this, and this is what we're gonna do. There was no mention of emotional support. There was no mention of anything. Now, I am glad that I know about autoimmune diseases and that I host a support group. I facilitate a support group. So I felt okay. And even though I have not even gone through all my, I want to say, accepting of the disease or the condition, it's taken me a while. And I have a monthly support group. And I have a family that knows about these conditions. And I have an amazing care team. And I have an amazing support system. But I was given no support, no, not even a question of, do you understand what impact this is going to have on your life? Do you know how you're going to talk to your husband about this? Do you have any kids? Do you know how to talk to your kids about this? Nothing. Do you work? Did you know that this might impact the way you're going to be able to either drive to work or commute, or these treatments are going to fog your memory, or these treatments are going to make you sick, or the infusions are going to take 3 hours of your life, and then you have all these side effects. No one tells you any of that.
Exactly. I think that also speaks to the education and research part of cancer.org, because it's not only about providing support and emotional support, but also informational support, helping patients navigate through something so baffling, so daunting, and making them feel like they're not alone, not only emotionally, but then also with the resources provided to them. And then providing them a community which they can grow, get past the initial shock of their diagnosis. And even after the treatment is over, they still have a community to turn back to, and hopefully some lifelong friends.
Yes, I can say that. And yes, Daniel says forming a coalition. Yes, I think that is the way to go. Unfortunately, what happens is not everyone wants to be part of the coalition, which is one of the biggest problems of why there's so many programs out there, maybe talking or doing the same thing, but they're only doing it either within their communities and not across other states or other organizations. There are some organizations that like to play, like what I say is our organization likes to play in the sand and share toys. Not everyone likes to, play in the sand and share the toys. Others just like to come and, play in the sand and leave with traces of sand so they could say they played in the sand. So it's very interesting, to see that. And then let's see, Robin is saying we don't have a helpline other than the cancer support phone number. That is true. Sometimes there's not, and those phone numbers may be local to you. So let's say you meet someone or you move, what happens? You're no longer have the same access that you would if you were, from where you were living at. She says, I agree that there wasn't any information given to support when I was diagnosed. It was Google to find a support group, and that's where I found Molly. Yeah, Molly McCabe, a very good friend of ours from Portland, Oregon, that founded Molly's Fund, which would actually provide support, virtual support, and in-person support for those living with lupus. And, and I think that's what it's about. It's about, trying to find ways on working together. Annika, I do have a question. I know you do a lot of you're reaching out to different groups, but you're also doing stuff locally. You just I'm not sure if you hosted or if you attended a community day event. Can you talk to us a little bit about your community day event that you were just at?
Yeah, so that was hosted by Seattle Children's Hospital. They are so near and dear to my heart. They actually were like how I first got interested in advocacy, because before I started cancer.org, before I got into the whole emotional support thing, I was really just fundraising because I wanted to support the community in some type of way. So I was fundraising for Seattle Children's Hospital, and I did two main fundraisers, and I raised like over $1,000, and it was so fun, and it really made me love this line of work and made me want to get more hands-on and involved in it. And so I have been working with them for over 3 years. This was my third community day that I attended. And it's just amazing. They host this every year, and it brings together all of all of the people that fundraise for them, all of the health advocates that they work with, and then they share patient stories and kind of share how they provide emotional support to their patients, like within the hospital. So it's such an amazing event. I look forward to it every year. And that's actually where we reached our 30 endorsements, just because I got to meet so many people and get their support of my campaign. I met I don't know if you know him, but he's like a local like Seattle celebrity. His name is Bender Cunningham. He's a radio host here. He's like everyone knows who he is. So that was really cool to get his endorsement. I got the endorsement of the partnerships manager of the Seattle Storm, which is our basketball team, I believe. So yeah, it's just an amazing way to meet people from the community, and like just another example of like how collaboration is so important. I got to speak with so many other advocates on how they started their nonprofits, just like how you guys did, and hear their stories, and it's really just inspiration to me of how I hope to one day build my own nonprofit.
Well, you are already making an impact. You're making a huge impact because of the work that not only you've been doing, for the Children's Hospital, but also for what you are doing connecting all of us. I mean, you are sparking the conversation that we're having today within our communities, within our space, and with other spaces. I mean, just in this moment, just the people that have logged in, you have, school board members, you have cancer, caregivers, you have autoimmune disease, you have a little sickle cell, a little bit of all different communities. And the one thing that, that we have in common is the fact that we are connected, and we understand the need because we have felt that need. Right. And, like they say, you don't know what you're going to need unless you are in the need yourself. So it's very important for us to highlight that. Juana, do you want to share anything about like what you think is either important within the community? I know we've talked about a little bit about, the support and being in the community, being the face of the community, something that you've learned from like the community, either activities that we've done and that engagement and how it has helped not just yourself, but like others living with autoimmune diseases.
Of course, it's just being in the community, and like Annika had said, you people that and you've also said it too, Estella, just being around people that see you as a person. They don't see you as an organization. They see you as somebody that's lived is living whatever what we're talking about, either lupus, cancer, or any other condition. We get connected. We feel the support from one another. So it is very important. So, and I love that, that we talk about the grassroots and just the connection that we're all, having together, and knowing that, we're here for the same purpose.
Yeah. And I think, the fact that you got those endorsements, Annika, speaks volumes, because you wouldn't have gotten those endorsements if you wouldn't have been there. Right. And when you're not there, you missed out on a lot. And to me, I think that's like the biggest thing that I can say. The reason we are able to, kind of, do the work and walk the walk. There's a saying, and I can't even think of it because of the fog I'm having, but we're able to do it because we are actually living proof of how you can connect to someone, because we are making the connections.
Right. And just being present, Estella and Annika, just being present, and for people to see that we are there, that we're not doing it from far away. We are present. We're in the community. And that's what I think that it's very important. A lot of the people want to feel that connection. They want to feel that, that somebody is there present with you, listening or hearing you out. And a lot of the times it's just that presence that we need.
Definitely. And Robin says we're stronger together and have to stay united for all illnesses. That is so true. And the one thing that I have, oh wait, she knows what I was trying to say. Thank you, Robin. Walk the walk and talk the talk. I don't know what I said earlier, but I think I used the same words, but just not in the order that they were supposed to be. So you see why we need each other? This is like live. Like this is the reason why we need to support one another, is because you never know when you're going to need that extra, help. Walk the walk and talk the talk. She's so cute. Thank you. She's like, I got you. And I think that's what it's about. It's about knowing that you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Knowing that you're not alone. Annika, I mean, and you could answer this if it's not too personal, but what about your mom? I know you talked about your dad and how supportive he's been and how he came up with the acronym CANCER. He also, I'm sure went through his journey as a, a husband, a father, supporting you and supporting your mom. But what about your mom? What does your mom feel that was either needed, or what is that gap that she also saw that you saw? Was it the same thing, or was it, what was it?
Yeah, I think I for her especially, I the diagnosis was very like out of the blue, and she like wasn't expecting that. I think she just like went in for her normal like yearly checkup, and like they just threw this curveball at her. And I think when you're hit with such a life altering I guess diagnosis, and you're really just not expecting it, emotional support isn't necessarily the first thing on your mind. Like you don't think to like seek that out, but I really do think it is what helped her overcome her cancer, and it is what helped her grow into the healthy person in remission that she is today. She was so lucky to have family. We had some family friends who had also gone through a similar journey, and so they honestly became best friends, and they really that I call her auntie, but she really helped my mom through the journey, and like just helped her with knowing with what to expect. It's not only the emotional support aspect, but then the smaller things like, oh, you're going to get nauseous, so you should eat these foods, or like, oh, here's a home remedy for the bruising that she was getting. So it's just small things like that that they related to on like a more friendship level, just because they're both like Indian moms, they have the same home remedies, they have the same like cultural background, and it's really, I think, that sense of community and a vision of what she could be when she's in remission that helped her push through that. And they're still amazing friends to this day. And now my mom is the one that newly diagnosed patients are reaching out to in order to understand what's coming up for them. So
Mm-hmm.
she didn't necessarily expect to get thrown into this community, but I think it was so important to it is so important to her. And I'm hoping that that's something I'm able to emulate for other people.
Wow. Wow. It's you talked about a lot of the things that I think we have faced. It's that connection, that special connection and that bond that you have. One, because you're feeling so vulnerable. You don't even know what you're going to need or what you're going to ask or how you're going to go through those battles or those hurdles once you get there. And the fact that your mom had your auntie, there to kind of help her or walk alongside her journey, I think it is amazing. And not only that, is you were able to see how she supported her, because just the way you were explaining it, that means you were, observing of that. So then that kind of helps you also uh, feel that empathy and almost like pay it forward to others, which is what you're doing. And I feel that because that's what we do every day ourselves. It is very different to say that, you have been there when you have not truly seen firsthand, and I see that with Juana all the time, and I learn from her because she is that one that a lot of newly diagnosed patients go to, because dealing with lupus, it's not just, and I don't want to say or diminish, but like with cancer, some, like I know my mom, she went through a cancer battle. It was very hard, very difficult. Now she's, in remission. She had, her treatment worked, and she didn't have to go through chemo. So she had other things done, but her journey with that cancer episode was over. So now she's fine. But when it comes to like lupus, like, you don't know when it's going to hit you. You don't know when you need those treatments. That a lot of the treatments are very similar to, or the symptoms are very similar to what a patient with a cancer goes through, right? You have the hair loss, you have, all the bruising, the different treatments. I think there's even like almost like a chemo pill, or similar to chemo treatment that they utilize for lupus. And you do need that support as to these side effects. Take this, take that, or don't take this, or
Mhm.
you know. So it's very, very important. So thank you for sharing that. So with your organization, or the number that you want to create, the national hotline, do you have something in existence right now, so for support for the individual living with cancer and like the loved one? Or is that something that will come with a campaign?
Yeah, so there are so many different organizations that are providing not only like support group based cancer, but like individual, like connecting survivors with patients. A big one is Immerman's Angels. And I guess when, especially for my mom, at least, like in her case specifically, she did know about these bigger organizations. It's not like she didn't know, but it was more the fact that she just was, I guess, not, I guess, scared to reach out. It was something so personal, and like you don't want to share it to just anybody. So she thought that having no support was better than, reaching out to someone unknown. So I think there are existing things like this, and they are helping lots and lots of patients, but there is a discrepancy between, there's almost like what, 2 million patients diagnosed every single year with cancer, and the amount of patients that these organizations help is nothing compared to that. And all of those patients really do deserve emotional support. So it's about providing it to them in a way that they not only know about the support available to them, but they feel comfortable reaching out for help. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I mean, there are some existing ones, but
Yeah.
hopefully that this model will reach the patients that are not already being helped.
Yeah, no, and when you talk about statistics, the numbers are always so important. Like 2 million people, diagnosed with cancer, but really the gap that you want to fill is to make sure that those 2 million people, have a number to call that they feel comfortable with, that they know that they're going to feel connected and not have to it, expose themselves too much, or feel like they're sharing way too much of their personal lives. And I the more I think about it, it's like 2 million people. Gosh, like with us, there's like about 1.5 million people, that the Lupus Foundation of America says that are diagnosed with lupus. I think the numbers may be less, or maybe they may be more, who knows? But the one thing that I do know is that regardless of what condition you're living with, you should get the help that you need for whatever condition you may have, whether it's cancer, whether it's a chronic condition, whether it's an autoimmune disease. And autoimmune diseases are on the rise right now, and a lot of people with autoimmune diseases are also prone to getting cancer. And so I think it was last month, February, was like cancer awareness month for, I think it was oh my gosh, I'm blanking out. And it wasn't ovarian. It was like HPV cancer. There you go. HPV cancer. And people don't talk about it enough. But there's a lot of, in the autoimmune disease space, that there's a higher risk if you have an autoimmune disease to contract a cancer. And people don't realize that. Now, yes, we're lucky that we have a lot of like autoimmune disease support groups out there that can also help, those once they are diagnosed with cancer. But what if you just are newly diagnosed with cancer? Who do you go to? So, I think what you're doing is pretty amazing, to be able to call a hotline. Like, gosh, we need a hotline for us too. There's a lot of lupus organizations, a lot of small grassroots, but that there's also like 3 large organizations. But I wish we could all just have one hotline together as well. Um, So it's very important. And Robin says judgment-free zones are important. Exactly. Because you want to be able to feel comfortable going to that number that is not going to be judging you, right? Zero judgment, all welcoming and all inclusive and diverse. And I have to say that, and I know there's like a whole political thing about the word diverse. So I'm just going to say, let's just include every single person and have the support for the person that needs it in the language that they needed with the same or similar culture that they feel comfortable with, right? And I think you mentioned that too, Annika, and how your auntie, being from the same culture is very different. Like for us, very traditional culture, in the Hispanic or Latino community, it's like people joke like, oh, we use vapor rub for everything. But let me tell you, I feel comfortable talking about vapor rub within my community than to come to a different community and be like, oh, the vapor rub. People be like, what do you mean? Like, I don't understand. So there's a very different level of community when you're dealing with someone or working with someone from the same or similar culture. Robin says we have a warrior who has pancreatic cancer right now. Yes, and that's it, this is why it's so important to be connected. And thank you, Robin, for sharing that. Is I just also someone that we know was just recently diagnosed with prostate cancer. And like I said, we've had cancer challenges in our family as well. So for us, it's also personal. And I think that's really what we need to do. Take it as a personal approach. What can I do to help someone that is dealing with a condition like cancer, a life-threatening condition like an autoimmune disease, or a chronic condition that could, later lead to a life-threatening condition, right? What can I do? And I think what we can do right now is connect, amplify this program. Because even though we may be in the autoimmune disease space right now, that does not tell me that my future is only going to be in the autoimmune disease. I will share another personal thing. Like I've had a hysterectomy because of cancer scare. And so there are things that we can do. And the one thing that I will do is always, always try and work together with everyone, because we never know when it's going to impact us. And really the right thing to do is to always, always collaborate with others and help each other. And so, with that being said, just trying to hopefully encourage you that is listening, whoever's listening out there, follow Annika, follow and support the campaign that she's running. Cancer is about supporting, about research. It is about engagement, and it is about community. And that's what we stand for. Looms for Lupus stands for, we are knitting a community of hope, literally one loop at a time. And how do we do that? We loop people in and we shine the light on what others are doing to help them and to help our community. Because at the end of the day, we are all one, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I'm so happy that Daniel connected us, Annika. I'm so happy that you are doing this.
Me too. I'm so glad.
Yes. And, and then I'll just do another thing is when you go onto her site, don't just stop at the pledge or the campaign and sign off on it. I want you guys to go look at the research. I believe you did like a study, right, Annika? Do you want to tell us a little bit about the study that you did, that you have on your site?
I don't necessarily have a study, but under the research tab or the education tab, there are so many resources available for patients, survivors, advocates, whoever you are, to kind of those blog posts are really there for people to get a sense of what's going on in the community. How can you get more involved? What are the advancements in treatment? What are the advancements in support? And just how can you be a more active member of the community? So if you do go onto my site, please look at my campaign progress. really I read my white paper that I wrote and really understand kind of not only like this is the campaign that I'm doing, but like the reasoning behind it. And if you are a survivor or a patient, please share your story. I would love to hear it, and your support means so much to me in just really helping me build this organization, because I really do want this to be a grassroots movement uniting everybody together. So yeah.
Yes, and that's what it's about. It's about unity. And we used to always say this and before, and unity is part of community, right? So without unity, you don't have
Yeah,
community. So we
exactly.
have to make sure that we support each other and we unify. Unifying our efforts is going to make us stronger. It is not going to take away. We all need the support. We all need the emotional support, just like we need our medical support and within our care team. But when we leave those hospitals, when we leave those doctors' offices, we need that emotional support and that connection, not only within our families, but also within our communities, because a lot of times our caregivers, our loved ones, our family members don't know who to go to and don't want to burden us when we have the condition, because they may feel like they don't want to take away from the little that we have. But I will say, we all need the support, whether you're a caregiver, whether you're a loved one, a family member of someone that's living with cancer, with an autoimmune disease, or with a chronic condition. You are not alone. We are here for you. And whether you have cancer or do not have cancer, but you just want to connect, reach out to us. We will connect you with the right people, whether you have an autoimmune, if it's a specific thing, anything that we don't know, we still connect. That's what it's about. It's about connecting people. So connect with us, connect with Annika. And I'm just happy and excited for you. This is your last year in high school, right?
Mhm.
And just to see what you're doing now, I cannot imagine what you are going to do in the future. And I cannot wait to see this campaign come into fruition 100% and help people at a national level. I will be the first one there to celebrate with you. We will be celebrating together because we will make this happen. And I think that is the one thing that we just have to put it out there together. We can do this.
Mhm. Thank you. Yes, we can do it.
Yes. Thank you, Annika. And thank you, everyone that tuned in. I will put in the links again for the sites. If you need support, or if you know someone that is dealing with a mental health crisis or dealing with a autoimmune or chronic condition and needs that support, that's why there's a 988 number. And soon, hopefully, you will also have a landline for you to call to get support for your loved one that are living with cancer, or those that are supporting someone that lives with cancer. Until next time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.